Okay, we're doing grade 9 algebraic expressions. So remember in grade 9, you start with simplifying and factorization. So you need to know these two under algebraic expressions from grade 9. Expressions. So I'll give you an example of simplify. If the question says simplify, and then you're given something like this, x plus 3, like this. So what are you going to do? The law of distribution, you're going to multiply each term inside the bracket by the x. So x squared plus 3x. You get your full marks. If it's something like x plus 3, x minus 2, you do what we normally call FOIL. You multiply the first one, the outer one, the inner one, and the last one. So basically what we do, let me use a different pen there. You multiply this and this. And then you multiply again the second bracket with now the second term there. So let's start with the first one. What is x multiplied by x? It's going to be x squared. What is x multiplied by negative 2? It's going to be negative 2x. And then what is positive 3 multiplied by x is going to be a positive 3x. What is positive 3 multiplied by negative 2? A positive and a negative becomes a negative. And 3 multiplied by 2 is what? 6. And then what do we do from there? We look for like terms. What are like terms? Like terms are terms that have the same variable, the same letter, and the variables of the exponents of the variables are the same. So the variable must have the same exponents. So this 2 becomes like terms. They both have x, and the exponent for each is 1, 1. So these two are like terms. Once they're like terms, we look at the coefficients. So the coefficient is negative 2 plus 3. Negative 2 plus 3 becomes what? Positive 1. So this will be x squared. This becomes plus x minus 6. Negative 2 plus 3 becomes 1. So here there's a coefficient of 1 that we don't always write, but we know that it's there. Now, grade 9 introduces another part now of factorization, and then I'm going to do a few questions for each. So now we do this method called we do this part called factorization. Factorization. Under factorization, you need to know the following for grade 9. You need to know how to take out a common factor. You need to know how to identify a common bracket, which also involves sign change. You need to know how to identify dots, which is a difference of two squares. And then lastly, you need to know how to do a trinomial. You need to be able to do those. I think grouping also, yes. Grouping, which forms part of this. It forms part of the common bracket. So this forms part of a common bracket. So I'm gonna do, let's say 3 questions of each, and then you should be able to answer any question based on that. Okay, so now let's look at it. The first part of factorization is identifying a common factor. So let's do some few questions there. Okay. Now, the first question, the question will just say factorize. And then you're given a question, x squared plus 2x, b x cubed plus 2x plus 4, let's say squared there, and then let's put an x there. C, 3x squared plus 9. D, let's put what? 2x squared plus 6x plus 3. Okay, let's put 12 there so that it can work out nicely. So we are gonna identify the first part of factorization is looking for a what? A common factor. So a common factor. Common factor. So between these two, remember, these are two terms. A term is separated by a plus or a minus, so we have two terms there. So what is common about the two terms? They both have x. Look here, there's x times x, there's 2 times x. What is common is that they both have an x. So I'm going to take the common factor out, and then I'm going to write inside the bracket, I write what is left after taking out the common factor. So in the bracket, I write what is left. If I take out x there, I'm left with what? 1x. Plus, if I take out the x, I took out x from each, then I'm left with what? 2. So inside the bracket, you write what you are left with. Okay, I hope you get it. And then let's try this one. The same thing applies, same thing applies. You look for what is common in all the terms. So here, what is common there? X again. So here there's 3 x's, 2 x's, 1 x, but what is common in each is that they, at least all of them, they have 1 x. So I'm going to take the x outside as a common factor. And then what are you left with now? If I took out 1x there, I'm left with x squared. So here, x squared. If I took out 1x there, I'm left with plus 2x. If I took out the x there, I'll be left with plus 4. Can you see now? That becomes your answer. So factorization, it's in fact the reverse order of simplification. So if I am to check this out, if I am to multiply this back, if I multiply this back, I distribute the x, it should take me back to the original question. Can you see? All the time, if you multiply back, it must be able to take you back to the original question. Okay, now let's move along. Hope you get it. Let's go to this one now. What is common about these two terms? What is common about these two terms? They both have 3. Look here, 3 times x squared times, what are the factors of 9? 3 times 3. So they both have 3. So what is a common factor in this case? 3. But I cannot take out an x because this doesn't have an x. Can you see it? So I try to look now between the numbers. If I identify the factors, I can find at least a common factor there. So I'm still left with x squared plus 3 came out. Now I'm left with 3. So that if I multiply them back, 3 times 3 will give me 9. I hope you get it. Let's do the last one. So the last one, what is common about all this? Okay, this one has 2 x's. This one has 1 x. This one does not have an x. So there's nothing common there. But let's look at the numbers. This is 2. 2 multiplied by 1. Those are the factors. 3 multiplied by 2. And 6 multiplied by 2. I can also write 3 multiplied by 4. But I'm going to try to look for what? A common factor. So a common factor in this case will be 2. So I'm not going to use those factors. I'm going to use that one because now I can be able to identify a common factor. So 2 is my common factor. And then what is left now? What is left? X squared plus 3x plus 6. Now that becomes your answer there. Okay, let's try a bonus question. Okay, let's make that a 2. Bonus question is that one. You can pause the video and try to take out a common factor between those two. Then pause it to check if your answer is correct. So let's look at it here. What is common between these two? First, starting with the x's. There are 3 x's, there are 2 x's there. So what is common? X squared. And then let's go to the y's. There's 2 y's there and 3 y's. So what is common? 2 y's. At least appear in both the terms. Now here, I took out 2 x's. So what is left? X, 1x. And then minus here, this one is gone. I took out 2 y's, so there should be 1 y there. Then you get your full marks there. See it, guys? Okay. Moving along to the second part. Okay, so you need to be able to take it step by step, and everything should be super, super, super. So the next part of the topic was what? Identifying a common bracket. A common bracket. Yeah? Okay. Okay, now second part, identify a common bracket. The question will still say factorize. Now you're given something like this: 3x plus 2 minus x plus 2. So the both terms, they have a common bracket. So what do? I take out the common bracket outside. If I isolate the common bracket, what is left is what I write inside the bracket. Same thing as what I was doing there. So in this case, it will be, what am I left with? X minus 3 minus x. And that becomes your answer. So you group together whatever is left after taking out the common bracket. B, let's try this one. X minus 1 plus y x minus 1. So what do you notice there? What is common about the two terms? Do you want to pause and try that question on your own? Yes. So they both have x minus 1. If I take out x minus 1 as a common bracket, what is left if I remove the x minus 1? Here, I'm left with x, and then on this side, I'm left with y. Then that becomes your factorized answer. So if they said simplify, you're gonna multiply in. But now the question says what? Factorize, factorize. Now let's do this two questions with a sign change. And then we move on to the next part. Okay. Okay, so something like this. Let's say P x minus y plus q y minus x. Now, please listen carefully. These two brackets are almost the same. The issue is with the sign. So look at x. In this bracket, x is positive. In this case, x is negative. In this case, y is positive. This one is positive. So the signs are the terms are the same in the brackets, but the signs are different. So what do we do in this case? We introduce what we call a sign change. We're going to introduce a negative so that what is the aim of doing that is so that we can change the signs of the brackets so that they can look the same. So I want to change the sign by introducing a negative sign so that now everything is going to be affected now. So P x minus y stays the same, negative, and then that whole plus q y minus x. So this negative, I introduce a negative, and then the negative is going to change all the signs there. So P x minus y minus, this becomes negative, and the negative and the negative becomes negative y now, and then look at negative and a negative x becomes a positive x. Then once I have the signs, I can just swap them around like that. Now I have a sign change. What happened? The signs inside, the terms inside swapped. Can you see what happened? They swapped, and the sign in the middle changed. So what happened basically when I introduced the sign change? Look at this sign. This sign changed to a negative, and these two terms, they swapped around. So with a sign change, it's a change of sign, and then you just swapping the terms in the other bracket so that because of the negative, you will see if you multiply out, they will be changed. So now I have this. These brackets are the same. I have common bracket. Therefore, I can solve it as common bracket is x minus y. This is a common bracket. And then what am I left with? P minus q. That becomes your answer. That becomes your answer. So let's try something here. Let's try 3x p minus q plus yay. Okay, let me move this a bit up there. Yeah. And then q minus p. Yeah, let's look at that question. So what did we say there? Introduce, once you see that the terms are the same, but the signs are different, you introduce what we call a sign change. Sign change is going to be 3x, p minus q, this stays the same. This changes to a what? Change and swap to a negative. And then what happens here? The p, the q swaps. And voila, we have the sign change. Now, I'm going to take out this as a common bracket. And then what happens then? I'm left with 3x minus here. If I took out everything here, what will be left there? 1, not 0. Then I'll be left with 1 there as a coefficient. Okay, nicely done. Now let's go to the next one of identifying difference of two squares. Um, Okay, so I'm left with only two parts of this question, and then you will be knowing how to answer any question on this section of factorization. Very easy stuff, very basic things. You just need to practice, 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 practice. Now, say you're given something like this in this case now. You're given something like this, x squared minus 4. And the question says factorize. So from what we've done now, we spoke about a common factor. We spoke about a common bracket. So in this case, those two methods do not apply in this case. So what are we going to do now? We're going to do what we call difference of two squares. So the word difference means negative. Remember, from your word problems, when you hear the word difference, it's a negative difference of two. So the terms must be two terms of two squares, and they need to be squares. They need to be squares. Squares is perfect squares, numbers that we can find the square root of, or anything that has an exponent of multiples of 2 becomes a square. So how do we solve it now? Solve it very nice and easy. You open two brackets. One is a plus, one is a negative. It doesn't matter the order. And then now you find what is the square root of x squared. The square root of x squared becomes x. So that cancels with that one. The square root cancels with the square. So I have x. And then what is the square root of 4? It's 2. Then it has 2 times 2. So if I were to multiply this in, it will take me back to the original question. So I'm going to explain this one in detail just to show you how it comes about. And the rest will just solve them like that. So this is your answer. You're done. Just like this, you're done. But let's prove and check if this is correct. So always check inside the brackets, the signs must be different. So let's multiply out x squared minus 2x plus 2x minus 4. Negative 2x and positive 2x, we're going to cancel out because that's like 2 minus 2 is 0. So the middle terms, they fall off. And then you're left with what? X squared minus 4, which is what was given originally. So the difference of two squares, if I were to do FOIL in it, it has to take me back to the original question. Okay, now where are we? Okay. Uh, okay, now I'm gonna put some few questions there, and then we're just gonna do them. Maybe let me put 4 or 5, but it works perfectly the same. So factorize the following: 1, 2, 3. So let me pick from here. X squared minus 1. You can pause the video, please, and try to do them on your own. That's a nice one. Okay, 2 more. Okay, now the question says factorize, 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 factorize. Okay, now what are we gonna do now? In this case, um, the same way we did there. So let me use this one. Oh, that one. So I'm gonna have what? Two brackets, a plus and a minus. And then what is the square root of x? It's gonna be x, x, and then what is the square root of 1, 1, 1? Just like that. Here, what are we gonna have? Two brackets, one is a plus, one is a minus. What is the square root of 4 or 16? It's 4, 4. And then what is the square root of m squared now? It's m, m. And then what is the square root of 9? It's 3. So just like that. So you write like the square root of each number with different signs. So in this case, look at it. There's no square root of 50. There's no square root of 2. So what are we supposed to do there? We're supposed to take out a common factor first. Take out a common factor first. What is a common factor between 2 and 5? 2, we get it from 2 multiplied by 150. It's 2 multiplied by 25. So 2 becomes a common factor. You get it? Then look at the bracket. I can factorize what's inside the bracket using difference of two squares. Can you see that 25 is a perfect square? Yes. How do we get 25? 5 multiplied by 5. So I'm going to have a 2 open bracket negative square root of a squared is a, and square root of 25 is 5. And then there you have your answer now. So there you can get 3 marks or 4 marks there because you had to see that you need to factorize first before you apply difference of two squares. Okay. Let's look at this one. Difference of two squares again, plus and a minus. What is the square root of d? D squared is d. And then this one is what? 6. So that's your answer there. And I hope now you see the pattern. Minus the square root of 144, it's 12b, 144b squared, and then 81c squared will be 9c, 9c. And there you have the answer. Okay, and lastly, let's do trinomial. Trinomial should be done in the next 5 minutes. So trinomial comes into play now when we have what? 3 terms. 3 terms, and then we use the factors of the first term and the last term. So this is the standard form, x squared plus bx plus c. So 3 terms. The first one is the it's x squared, and the second one was bx then plus c, which is the constant. So this is what we call a standard form. From grade 10, that's where you get to use it more detail. Yeah, but this is how some difference of two, a trinomial would look like. So let's do the first question. Then I'll show you how to do it. So say you're given something like this, plus 6x plus 5. So what are we going to do here? Let's listen carefully. I'm going to here I'm going to write across. You write across, and then on this side, you're going to list the factors of the first term, And there you're going to list the factors of this term, the third term. And then when you cross multiply them, you should be able to get the middle term. Then your factors will be correct. So we solve this using the first and the third term to get the answer. We were looking for 6x at the end. So look at it. It's x. What are the factors of 5? 5, I get it by multiplying 5 times 1. It's a prime number. So 5 and 1. If I multiply these two, what is x multiplied by 5? It's 5x, and then x multiplied by 1 is 1x. Now, if I add these two up, if I add them up, it's going to add up to 6x. Now, how do I know if I should be adding or subtracting the terms? We look at this number there, here. So this sign, we look at the sign here. If the sign say is a positive, it means you are going to add the terms. So that's why if I add 5 and 1, I get 6. So basically here, so this case, what are we basically saying? We're basically saying the factors of 5 such that when I add them, the factors of 5 and x squared, so that such that when I add them, they give me 6x. So now this, as you see, it becomes your brackets, your factors. So my factors becomes x5 and x1. Now we need to find the terms. Now we go to the last term again. This term says same. So if I see a plus here, it says the signs in the two brackets will be the same. But we now go to the middle term and check what is the sign of the middle term. The sign of the middle term is a plus. Both the brackets will be positive. That easy. So this tells us two things. It tells us that we're adding when we have the factors, and it tells us that the signs in the bracket must be the same. Now listen carefully. It only says the brackets must be the same, but you go to the middle term and check the sign. So if here it was a negative, if here we had a negative, meaning in the both brackets we're going to have a negative signs. Hope you get it. So I try to go as slow as possible on this one, but now we're just going to be moving a bit faster so that we can cover as many questions as possible. Okay, now let's do some few questions now. Let's look at it. Okay, so let me pick from here. Okay, let's get some questions. So there's a learner who sent me some few questions. I'm just gonna try to use the questions he sent me to solve them. So yeah, the deal is that he must watch the video until the end. So he gave me this question: x squared plus 3x plus 2. Number 2, x squared plus 4x plus 3. And another one there, x squared plus 12x plus 20. And then another one there, x squared plus 4x plus 4. Okay, let me see. Okay, let's do this once and then I'll add more questions. So this one is going to be what now? So this will be x, x. Can you see now? The factors of 2 that will give me 3. 2 has only 2 and a 1 as a factor, only 2 factors. So if I add 2 plus 1, it will give me 3. Can you all see? So meaning those are the factors. And then what does this tell us? It tells us that we're adding the factors, and it also tells us that the signs are the same. So we go to this and check what is the sign. It's a plus. So we'll have a plus plus there. Well, why swap? Why swap? Okay, let's go to this one now. What are the factors of 3? 3 has only three, there are two factors. What can I multiply 3 with to get 3? 3 times 1. So now you have to know your factors from term 1 again. So 3 has only, it's a prime number. A prime number is what? It's a number that has only 2 factors, which is 1 and the number itself. So look at the sign here. What does this tell us? We are adding. So if I were to add 3 plus 1, it will give me a 4. Can you see there? That's what we're looking for. So meaning 3 and 1. And then what are the factors of x? X squared is xx. Now, what does this tell us again? It tells us the sign are the same, but we take the sign of the middle term. So the middle term is plus, so both the brackets will be positive. Let's see. Now let's come to this one. This one is quite interesting a bit. 20 has more than 2 factors. So we list all the factors. Now look, 20 times 1 will give me 20. 10 times 2 will give me 20. 5 times 4 will give me 20. Okay, here I'm missing an x. But in this case now, I need to choose the factors that when I add them up together, they will give me what? A 12. Look there, they will give me a 12. So if I add 20 and 1, would it give me a 12? No. If I add 10 and 2, would it give me a 12? Yes. If I add 5 and 4, would it give me a 12? No. So meaning I'm going to choose this one as my factors. So I'm going to have x10, x2. Now, remember, this says what? We're adding, and it also says what? The signs must be the same. We go to the middle term, and it's a plus plus. I hope you are getting it now. You're getting it now. It's not so bad, right? And then here, it's a 4. What are the factors of 4? 4 times 1 and 2 times 2. But I want the factors of 4 such that when I add, I get what? I get the middle term. So, which is x plus 2, x plus 2. I hope now you're getting the idea of what is really happening. Okay, let me pick a few questions now because of time. Okay, then the next video is going to be on equations. So please look out for that video also. But let me finish with this one. Now I'm going to do the one with the negative. So number 4, I'm going to take this one, x squared minus 6x plus 9. Number 5, I'm going to choose which one. Okay, choose that one. Okay. Yeah, let's choose this one. Nice one, nice one. Okay, that is the same as what we did. Okay, now I'm gonna do what? List all the factors of 9. 3 times 3, 9 times 1. I want the factors of 9 such that if I add them up together, they'll give me a 6, which is what? 3 plus 3. Now I have 3. Can you see? So, no. What does this plus say also? It says the sign must be the same, but we take the sign of the middle term. So if it's a negative, it means both our brackets will be negative. Is it fine? No? Okay. And then let's try this one again. Factors of 20 that will give me a 12. We did it as 10. 10 and 2. Only difference is now the signs must be the same, but we use the sign of the middle term so that inside your brackets will have a negative and a negative. Now let's do this one quickly and then I will be done. I will be done, 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 done. Okay. So, okay, guys, let's look at those two questions. Okay, now what are we gonna do now? Same thing, same thing. Yeah? We're looking for the factors of 10. 10 is 5 times 2 and 10 times 1. But in this case now, we are no longer adding, we are subtracting. So I want the factors of 10 such that if I subtract them, they'll give me a 3. So which one are those? This. 5 minus 2 will give me a 3. Can you see? So meaning I'm going to work with those factors there. So x5, x2. Now, a negative sign means what? Remember, a plus means the sign must be the same. So a negative will mean the signs in the bracket must be different or must not be the same. So meaning if the other one is a plus, if the one bracket is a plus, the other bracket must be a negative. But now, how do we choose? We look at the sign in the middle. It's a negative. So the number between these two will have the sign of the middle term. So since 5 is bigger, it will have a negative, and automatically this one will have a positive. So the signs must not be the same if here you have a negative. Let's look at this one. The factors of 15 says that when I subtract them, you see I'm always writing subtract, different, because it helps me to analyze the question quicker. So what are the factors of 15? 3 times 5, 15 times 1. Which factors will give me 2 if I subtract these 2? Can you see? The order doesn't matter. 3 times 5 and 5 times 3 is the same. So this one, obviously, it doesn't change. In grade 9, it's going to always stay the same. If it's a y, it's y squared. The coefficient will always be 1 in this case. So you don't have to worry much about that. So this is 3 and 5. Now, we said the sign must not be the same, but the sign in the middle here goes to the bigger number. So which one is bigger? The 5 is bigger in this case, and then there becomes a positive. So nice, beautiful questions, guys. You can comment on the section if you need more questions or anything, but you can just go through your textbook. Maybe there are so many questions. As long as you understand the method of solving the questions, you need to know how to identify the correct method for each question. So remember, we've done four parts, 4 methods. So every time you need to check which method would apply in this question. Is it a common factor? Is it a common bracket? Is it a difference of 2 squares? Or is it a trinomial? Then you will ace your questions. Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys.